Time magazine has partnered with Grayscale to create a new educational crypto video series. Time will be paid for the series in Bitcoin, and the company will hold Bitcoin on its balance sheet. 3 weeks ago, Time posted a listing for a CFO job, and one of the requirements was comfort with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. The magazine recently sold 3 of its covers as NFTs. The CEO of Grayscale, by the way, Michael Sonnenschein, is going to join us at 8:15 a.m. Eastern as we've seen the I guess you call it the leading cryptocurrency closing in maybe on 63,000, but above 62,000 this morning. So I wanted to ask you about this. It's totally out of left field, but we've got Coinbase coming with a direct listing. And I looked back when you were on. It was July of 2019. We were talking about Libra, and you didn't like Libra, but you were very positive about Bitcoin, which subsequently went from 7,000 or 8,000 to where the new high today at 63,000. Coinbase now coming public. When a lot of government types, you're very rare for someone to be positive about this. And I don't know if you saw Secretary Yellen and Fed Chair Powell talking about it. Do you think that they have a feeling or a good understanding of digital currencies or Bitcoin at this point? Or they need a little remedial reading, a little reading of the Bitcoin standard? What would you suggest?
Well, I think I was right then and I'm right now. I think they tried to ignore it to make it go away. I think Jamie Dimon will tell you that from the beginning he was wrong. This is moving towards the future. They should not ignore it. They should not only learn more about it, but the basis is going to continue to grow. And this is something that those who regulate, those who are in government that make policy, better start understanding what it means for the future, because other countries are moving forward, especially China. I do not want America to fall behind. I want the next century to be ours. That's why I want to look forward, not backwards, and not keep my head in the sand.
Kyle, I know you saw Peter Thiel's comments, too, about the Chinese. They do a lot of Bitcoin mining. There is a digital yuan in the works, I guess, or at least there's plans for things like that. Is that a challenge to the dollar in terms of global supremacy? And is it, when I read it, I had to laugh that China is debasing our currency. I said that we may have some domestic debasers that we need to talk to about that as well. But is that what you're seeing from China? And do we need to be aware of that and get cracking?
Yeah, so Joe, this is the single most important move on the global chessboard in the last 20 years, is how the United States and its allies interfaces or doesn't interface with the Chinese central bank digital currency. There are 80% of central banks around the world are in some stage of researching or rolling out a new digital currency. 35 are in advanced stages and close to rollout. The US is in close. What we must understand is a central bank digital currency isn't a currency. It's our adoption of a Chinese tech stack. It's basically a currency that knows everything about you if you have it. They know who you are. They know how you spend your money. They will export their digital authoritarianism on you, Joe. If you say anything negative about China and you happen to have some Chinese CBDC in your account, they can just turn it off. They can make it so that you can't spend it. This is something that we must, you say, get cracking. This is something that we and our allies must realize is the single largest threat to our rules-based order and democracies around the world.
I asked Minority Leader McCarthy about some comments from Fed Chair Powell and Secretary Yellen from a couple of weeks ago that we've scratched our heads about quite a bit, and their take on digital currency, on Bitcoin in general. Do you think they're in a position to guide us forward with that? Or, I mean, they're both very smart and well-read, and they wouldn't have their positions if they weren't. What's missing in terms of understanding what could be the future and not being ready for it?
Again, I think it's this geopolitical threat of the adoption of a Chinese tech stack, not just that they're rolling out some sort of digital currency and they've got only 1% of global settlements today, and so they have 1% of digital settlements. That's not the case. Joe, imagine what China's going to do. Here are the first things they're going to do. You talked about division and how they talk about, don't lecture us about human rights when we have all of the divisions, racial divisions, and all the tensions we have here. That's China's MO. What they do is they sow divisions with our open borders, our open society, and our open information stack. And that's what they do as an operating force. We don't have a global propaganda department here in the US. So when you ask me, are Yellen and Powell ready? Yeah, I mean, they're part of the old guard. They're incredibly bright. They know exactly what they're doing in central banking. But this is economic war that we're talking about. And the bad news is we don't have an economic war department stood up. We have a great kinetic war department. We have a great cyber war department. We don't have an economic war department, and we need one.
So what's going to change to put us in a position where we're better able to face this challenge? And do you expect that to happen?
So the good news is behind the scenes, many of our various important agencies and departments are working night and day on trying to understand what this rollout means. And China seems to be moving forward the rollout of their own central bank digital currency. Imagine China's first move is going to say anyone that does business with us or invests in China is going to have to settle in our CBDC. They're going to make an offer you can't refuse if you're chasing riches in China. Well, then all of a sudden, literally overnight, the amount of currency that settles, trade that settles in Chinese central bank digital currency will be multiples of what it is today. And their influence in the world will immediately, almost overnight, become so much greater. And again, that puts them in a position to export their digital authoritarianism. We can't allow this to happen. There actually is no way to become partially infected with their new central bank digital currency. It's either all or none. I believe we should ban it. I think it should be illegal. And let's hope China doesn't get so far ahead of the ball that they get it in the system. Joe, this is going to make private cryptocurrency an afterthought. It's going to be a sideshow. Whether we talk about Bitcoin or Ether or this or that, it just won't matter. CBDCs are the game, and that's where we all have to focus.
Coinbase direct listing and the impact it could have on cryptocurrencies. Pleased to say that we're joined now by Meltem Demirs, CoinShares Chief Strategy Officer. We've been on before, Meltem, and talked, but I never asked you, just for a little bit of background. So you were at Sloan, MIT Sloan. You figured you on Reddit, you heard about Bitcoin in 2012. What were you at Sloan? Were you business or engineering or what? Does Sloan have engineering or just?
No, there's actually a sign on campus that says, it points to the rest of campus. It says engineering and math. And then it has a direction pointing towards the Sloan School, and it says real people here. So I studied at the intersection of math, which is my background, and business. And it was a great experience. Bitcoin was big at MIT. Still is.
Right, and there's a Bitcoin club, all those things. So you hear about it, you see how blockchain works, however, a distributed ledger, whatever, and you immediately were a believer.
Wait, let's be very clear. I saw how Bitcoin worked. There was, you have to remember, there was only Bitcoin in the beginning, right? It's like the book of Genesis, there was only Bitcoin. So it was really Bitcoin at the time. And when I interacted with Bitcoin, I was like, this is ridiculous. And I've spent my career in it since then. I thought I was throwing my career away on a crazy bet. And here we are, I think the Coinbase IPO, following our own IPO at CoinShares last month, which was exciting. But this one really, valuation right now is looking not just 90 billion, which I think is the number Leslie gave. In private markets, we're looking at 147 billion right now, which makes Coinbase bigger than Goldman Sachs. That is my target for the end of this week. Let's see if they do it.
Did you buy and hold? And did you buy any really early? What was the lowest price you paid for Bitcoin, Meltem?
I don't know if the IRS is watching this. I'm kidding. Look, when I got into Bitcoin, it was around $150. So I wasn't someone who was getting coins at 10 cents, but Bitcoin early on. 150.
150.
Not bad.
No,
but look, here's what's great about it to me. Bitcoin has created a lot of wealth for people who weren't part of the traditional financial system, weren't money managers. The Coinbase IPO is going to mint hundreds, if not thousands, of multimillionaires and billionaires who all love crypto and are probably going to take some of their IPO, their listing proceeds, and continue to invest in the crypto ecosystem. So there's this really nice recursive effect where this industry isn't just about the assets, it's now really about the companies, which we've been investing in for almost a decade now.
right? And CoinShares is one, and there'll be dozens, obviously, that come from Bitcoin and crypto and everything else. And we'll try to keep track of all these things. The $100 billion, Meltem, is based on some unbelievable revenue gains that we're seeing, but it's from retail investors mostly who pay a lot to trade Bitcoin. I mean, more than, and I remember what happened in the brokerage business and everything else. 250 basis points, 2.5% per trade is like highway robbery, and that's why you have such huge margins, and it can't stay there. And institutional traders don't pay it. Why is it worth $100 billion when it's going to be a race to the bottom eventually?
Yeah, and look, and here's the thing: you nailed it exactly, right? 90% of Coinbase revenue still comes from retail trading. Retail trading suffers from, a very high premium. The margin will get compressed